Good morning. Wow. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Bangor. My name is Reverend Andrew Moeller. I use he, him pronouns, and it is a pleasure to be back with you. I've been away for a good portion of the summer, so this is kind of my first Sunday in the pulpit in like 7 or 8 weeks. So it's good to be here on this hot and a little steamy Sunday morning. I want to welcome anybody who's joining us today by Zoom, as well as the people who are here in the sanctuary. For those of you who are here, I'd like to invite you to join us for some refreshments after the service. I think we're going to all need water. Before we get started, I do want to share a few things. One, right after the announcements, we will provide an opportunity for people who are visiting for the first time. If you want to introduce yourself, it doesn't have to be a big thing, just maybe your name and where you're from or what brings you in today or how you found us. But we always like to welcome newcomers. And the other thing is that we have a new sound system. But that was my wow. This is the first time I'm hearing myself through the new sound system. And I don't know what it sounds like out there, but it sounds really good here. And I am told that the sound is best in the center sections. So if you're on the perimeter and you're feeling like I'm not hearing as well as I would like to, just a hint that the sound is sweet in the center. Okay, so Sue, let me come on up and let us know what's going on.
Good morning, everybody. I am so excited to see so many new people here today. I can't wait to have you introduce yourself if you feel so inclined. So, a few announcements. First, kudos to the Membership Fellowship Committee for the amazing UUSB Day at the Lake that we had last Sunday up at Peaks Kenny State Park. It was fantastic. 47 people attended. That's more than, we have in the summer here. Maybe we should just have all of our services there. I don't know. Next up, we have a Narcan training on August 30th at 1 p.m. So if you are interested in learning how to save a life from someone who might be overdosing, that would be a good thing for you to attend. The Malaga Ship event is coming up on October 5. You'll see these little handouts around. This is an amazing kind of a play kind of thing. And it's sponsored by us and NAACP and Faith Linking in Action and the Wilson Center and Racial Equity and Justice. Also, it's time to start bringing the books in for the book sale. The book sale is going to happen on September 13th, so next Sunday, if you've got books you're willing to donate, you can bring them into the Dorothy Memorial Hall, put them over by the pew that is near the coat rack. That would be appreciated. And the Great Pumpkin Yard Sale is coming up in October, so if you've got stuff you want to donate, feel free to talk to me about what is acceptable and what isn't. When we get closer, we'll do more about that. So, thank you very much, and enjoy the service.
Thanks, Sue. Now, as I promised, we'll give folks an opportunity to introduce themselves if they so desire. No pressure, it's voluntary. But if you'd like to be recognized, raise your hand and Sue will bring the microphone to you so you can introduce yourself. Sue had other ideas in her mind.
Getting used to the new sound system. Would anybody here that is new like to tell us, just briefly a little bit about yourself? It could be just your name. No pressure, but if you'd like to. Okay, we've got someone right back here. Thank you for breaking the ice.
Sure. Good morning.
Whoa.
I'm Jonathan Sands from Burlington, Vermont. My sister lives in Orono, so we're visiting her, but I was a member here from 1982 to 85.
Welcome back.
I'm Peggy Owen Sands, and we are visiting from Burlington, Vermont.
Thank you. Anybody else? There you go.
Hi, my name's Jan. I live a mile up the road, and I'm here just because I'm kind of looking for a little something more in my life right now with everything that's going on in the world. And thank you, everybody, for the great welcome. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Oh, there we go.
So exciting, I almost fell down. Good morning, I'm Sherry, and I think I have a lot in common with Sue, with Shan. So I'm recently moved to Bangor and am looking for a new community, so.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
We're glad
Anybody
you're
else?
here.
Oh, here we go.
Good morning. Oh, gosh. I'm Anne Marie, and I'm here with my daughter Zoe, who is starting to be curious about religion, and we thought this was a very appropriate place to start.
That's wonderful. We're curious about religion here too. Well, welcome to all of our newcomers. Wonderful to have you here. Let's take a moment to take a couple of deep breaths as we prepare ourselves to move into our time of worship together as we hear these words by Andrew Kennedy. We come to love a church, the traditions, the history, and especially the people associated with it. And through these people, young and old, known and unknown, we reach out, both backward into history and forward into the future, to link together the generations of this imperfect but blessed community of memory, hope, and joy. We now have a special treat for our introit, Cassie and Hannah.
I can change the world with my own two hands, make it a better place. With my own two hands, make it a kinder place. With my own two hands, with my own two hands. I can make peace on earth with my own two hands. I can clean up the earth with my own two hands. I can reach out to you with my own two hands. With my own two hands. With my own two hands, I can hold you. With my own two hands, and I can comfort you. With my own two hands, but you've got to use your own two hands. Use your own two hands. Use your own two hands. With our own two hands. With our own two hands. With my own two
That was lovely. Thank you very much. Our chalice lighting this morning will be with the help of Dave Patterson. It's entitled, We Inherit This Free Faith from the Brave and the Gentle by Audette Fulbright Fulson. This light we kindle is set in the lamp of our history. We inherit this free faith from the brave and gentle, fierce and outspoken hearts and minds that have come before us. Let us be worthy inheritors of this faith, and through our good works, pass it boldly to a new generation. We have no, it went out. This is the dilemma with the fans. Let me, so why don't you let's get started. Oh, Kate will help you right out here. Look at that. While he is getting that lit, we will prepare for All That Is Our Lives. It's the first hymn, number 128, if you're looking in the gray hymnal, if it stays lit. All right. We may have the same problem with the candles. Hey, Lori? Okay, let's go with hymn 128, For All That Is Our Lives.
So it is my habit to usually come down and do the story, the children's story from the floor, the story for all ages, not just for kids, right? Because we grown-ups like stories too. You may or may not have noticed that I've got a big, huge boot on my left foot right now. I sprained my ankle about a week ago, and I need to keep it immobilized. So instead of doing multiple stairs, I'm just going to tell the story from up here. And Cora, I hope you forgive me for that. The story that I'm going to tell today comes from the Buddhist tradition, from Buddhist lore. And you may hear the story and say, wow, this relates to some of the things that are happening in our world today, which is maybe a coincidence, maybe not, but I just want to give that little disclaimer that not necessarily the intention of the story, just the story itself without some of the broader political implications. So there was a time when there were two rulers of lands who had been fighting over a small piece of land, a high bank that had been made to stop a river from flooding the fields around it. "The bank belongs to my country," said one of the rulers. "No," said the other ruler. "The bank belongs to my country." The more they talked, the angrier the leaders became. Finally, since they could not agree peacefully, they decided that the only way they were going to solve their problem was to fight it out. Each one called for their armies to prepare for battle. Each leader planned to be ready the next day to lead their armies forth to fight over that small piece of land. A great teacher, the Buddha, heard that these two rulers were planning to fight each other. He sent a message to each one saying, "Oh, before you go to war, would you please allow me to hear your complaints? Perhaps I can help us find a different way of settling your quarrel." Neither ruler was particularly excited about talking to this spiritual leader, but still they both consented, and they went to the house of this teacher. There the three of them sat down together to talk the matter over. The Buddha began in his warm and gentle way of asking the rulers certain questions. First, he would put a question to one ruler, and then he would ask the same question of the other ruler. "Why do you say that the bank belongs to your kingdom?" he asked both of them. "What use is the bank to you if it does not belong to you? And if you had that bank of land, what would you do with it?" When the Buddha thought he had understood the reasons for the quarrel, he asked another several questions, first of one ruler and then the other. "If you are going to go into battle over this bank of earth, will not many soldiers and people be killed? Maybe even your own lives be sacrificed?" Both leaders said, "That is true. Many will be killed, but what else can we do? How else can we solve this problem?" Which is worth more, a bank of earth or the lives of your soldiers and people, or even your own lives? The Buddha asked. "Of course, the lives of our soldiers are worth far more than the bank of earth," both rulers agreed. The Buddha still had one more question to ask. He said, "Which would take more money? To build another bank, or to put back the lives of the soldiers once dead?" "The lives of the soldiers cannot be brought back with all the money in the world," the ruler said. "Lives of the soldiers are precious." Said the Buddha. "Are you going to risk what is so precious that no money can ever buy back, in order to have a small piece of ground that looks very much like some of the other pieces of land on hills around this area? The two rulers talked, listened, and they began to lose their angry feelings. With this change in perspective, they changed their anger and frustration into a peaceful agreement. And in the end, they did not go to war. And for many years, the people of the two countries lived side by side in peace. So, what a wonderful story. Simplifies a lot of things, right? But we know that the world is not always that uncomplicated. But still, I like this story because it has a very clear message of how precious peace is, and makes us think about what is the cost of war, of conflict, and how precious the lives of people are. This is like an enduring message that has come through several millennia of Buddhist teachings and teachings of many other religious traditions as well, that life is sacred, life is important, and more important than things or land. So instead of singing our folks back to their seats, we're just going to sing to ourselves about staying here in peace as we let the peace of that story roll over us. So we'll sing it twice through. Dear friends, please join me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Great universal spirit, interconnected web of which we are part, we gather on Sundays during this time to hold up the joys and sorrows that make up the fabric of our lives. Today we hold with deep compassion a mom who has lost a child. We also hold those who are sick and infirm, people who are struggling in our world with many ailments, ailments of addiction, ailments of being rejected by families, people not being accepted for who they are. We also relax into the great joys of celebrating many birthdays, many anniversaries, and people coming together in song to sing of kindness and compassion and remind us of who we are and who we are becoming and who we will become if we continue to hold with mindfulness those higher ideals that make the world a better place. Spirit, we gather in this time and place because we know that each life tells an important story and each life holds a deep and abiding truth. By coming together in this time, in this place, and this way, and sharing these joys and sorrows with each other, we grow closer to each other and we grow closer to becoming one. Blessed be. Amen. I now invite you to join in singing our response.
Now is the time for the passing of the plates to support the welfare of UUSB and the larger community. As part of our tradition of being a congregation engaged in the effort of repairing the world, every Sunday we take a collection to support the good work of this congregation and organizations out in the community that are doing fantastic work to improve the lives of others. For instance, last month we donated $565 to Partners for Peace. This nonprofit celebrates anyone affected by domestic abuse or violence, partner abuse, dating violence, stalking, or human trafficking in the Bangor area. This month, August, we share the plate with our UUSB food programs, which include our bean suppers and our support to the Good Shepherd Food Pantry. Every bit you give directly supports these food programs and this congregation. Thank you in advance for your support.
It is with gratitude that we receive this morning's offering to support this beloved community and the outreach programs that put food in the bellies of people here in Bangor. Blessed be.
Our reading this morning starts with a quote by Carl Sagan. "The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself." The reading is entitled Our Great Calling by Nathan Ryan. I still feel stifled trying to talk to my children. Everything I can think to say about them is about how great, amazing, and wonderful they are. But then I stop myself because I know that literally every person ever born was born that perfect and that amazing. Also, I'm still not fully reconciled, nor do I think I ever will be, on the decision to have them. We made a decision to create these two people, knowing that living is painful. If everything goes the way we want it to, they will love us, and then they will bury us. That's the best case scenario. Sadly, we know that many parents weren't given that option. What does it mean that, while weighing this, we still decided to bring them into a world that is violent, xenophobic, racist, hateful, polluted, dangerous, and imperfect? I think we have a holy obligation to bring about paradise on this earth, and each generation helps us do that. We've enlisted them without their consent in this work, just as every one of us was enlisted in this work without our consent. I wanted to give them the gift of being alive. I wanted another person to experience the sheer joy, complications, and beauty of this wonderful, imperfect world and all its people. So now, the challenge. Can you make the world that should have been when my children were born? For some reason, that's an easier challenge to articulate than the real one. Make the world you and I should have had before they were born. You are born of most divine particles. Make the world better because you exist. Go find the person you disagree with the most or who bothers you the most, and go love the hell out of them. Go have a conversation. Bake them a loaf of bread. Love them as you love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, well, love yourself anyway. In these last few years, if these last few years haven't shown us the need for our great calling, I can't imagine what would. Blessed be. We have a prayer. God and that uniting spirit within us all, please help us know we are not alone. Help us know that this week will be hard and heartbreaking for some of us. Please help us know that we are worthy of love and justice. Make us into beacons of hope and justice. Help us to build the world we were promised before we were born. Amen and blessed be. Now we have some special music with Cassie.
I hate change, but I come of age thinking, finally finding my way. Danced with chaos at every occasion. She looks me up every keep up with the changes.
Thank you, Cassie, for your wonderful gift of music. Just, we've got such a talented group of people here. And just when you think you found all the talent there is, there's more. And it's lovely, lovely. This summer, while sailing on a gentle breeze amongst the islands of the eastern side of Penobscot Bay, my mind began to reflect on my joy of sailing. Where did that passion for this activity come from that claims so much of my focus during my summer time? This is an activity that I love above and beyond just about every other activity. This endeavor puts me in touch with the beauty of nature, the technicality of science, and connects me to the depths of my inner soul. As I continued chasing wind shifts and occasionally interrupted by a seal popping its head out of the water and munching on a fish, or a school of dolphins crossing my bow, I realized that my joy of sailing, of being out on the water and observing creation and feeling a part of it, was not entirely my own. My love for sailing is something that was given to me by others. It was my father who taught me about sailing to begin with, and then the people who my dad introduced me to, who were other sailors. I deepened my appreciation from sailing with people in a community of a sailing club that I was part of growing up, and having shared experiences of going out and racing and making mistakes and bumping into boats and sitting down afterwards and processing the experiences that we had, both from a technical and an emotional way. It was the way that I started learning some of the wisdom that goes into this very complex endeavor of making a boat go with the power of the wind. I think about this a lot these days because many of the people in my life who were mentors are starting to pass away or have passed away. Where I was a young sailor soaking it all in, I am now also the imparter of sailing lore and knowledge to others. I am an influencer who teaches the gospel of sailing to other people. As I look at the many travails in the modern world, the question continues to arise: how did we get here? How is it that humanity continues to struggle with the same problems of greed, fear, and ignorance from generation to generation? It feels as if we have come a long way and that sometimes we are making progress, and sometimes it feels like we are taking 3 very hard-earned steps forward only to take 2 forced steps back, which is frustrating. It's demoralizing. Part of this comes from the challenge that we face of passing on wisdom from generation to generation. Many historians observe that human development continues to happen in cycles. There is a cycle of prosperity falling apart, the cycle of struggle and austerity, and then the struggle to reclaim what has been lost, followed by yet another cycle of a golden age of human development, prosperity, expanded human rights, knowledge, growth, and flourishing. There are many reasons for this, but I can't help but wonder if part of the reason that we fall into these cycles of human development is that the knowledge of previous generations is not always effectively passed down. Today we have so many ways of learning and researching history, from online databases to AI-generated research. We have digitized original manuscripts that can be searched, many different techniques for deciphering and understanding documented forms of history. We live in an age when intellectual awareness and understanding of our history is one of the highest points in humankind's existence. Yet, we continue to lose and rediscover important truths every couple of generations about what it means to be human, what it means to be alive, what it means to be in relationship with other living beings. Some of this happens because, well, people in the current generation may or may not learn from the history of our collected past. After a generation or two, I think we start to lose what I call embodied knowledge, or experience that comes from gaining a particular understanding by living through it, being in it. For instance, my grandparents lived through the Great Depression. They learned how to live through that difficult time in history. They taught my parents habits, mindsets, and skills to live frugally through their behaviors as a coping mechanism. My parents absorbed some of that wisdom and passed it on to my brother and me, but still, as they passed that wisdom down, some of it got watered down because my parents did not experience the same scarcity as my grandparents did. If my grandparents were alive today, I think they would probably be horrified by the waste and excesses of just everyday living today. A couple of weeks ago, we remembered the 80th anniversary of the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. For humanity, this was both a moment of great scientific accomplishment, but for most of humanity, it also became a moment of sobriety. To think of the sheer awesomeness and the destructive power contained in the atom, the power of humankind to destroy the earth many times over. Initially, we saw very little effects of the radiation on human beings, but I remember several years ago taking the high school youth group here to the United Nations and them seeing some of the relics of Hiroshima. They showed stone statues that had literally melted, stone that had been melted from the blast. And their minds started processing what the reality of nuclear armament and destruction really means. For some, the bombings of these two cities were a blessing because they hastened the end of the war and brought loved ones home. But for the victims, it brought indescribable suffering. And for the world, it brought a sense of dis-ease and existential despair, knowing that the power of destruction of a nuclear bomb and knowing of the things that nuclear fallout does to people and the environment around them. That horror became so great that it became the existential fear of a couple generations. I have heard people in this congregation talk about in the 40s, 50s, and 60s regularly doing duck and cover drills in the schools that they grew up in. I've heard people of my parents' generation talking about how when they were growing up, this was one of their biggest fears. And yet today, in these politically unstable times, the threat of nuclear war is something that we might hear in a little soundbite here and there, but it's not something that we talk about a lot anymore. Now, for millennials and all of us, the existential threat is not the atomic bomb, but climate change. Research has shown that anxiety among young people around climate change is exponential. It shows up in ways like young people choosing not to have children in economically developed countries because of the fear and concern that the world and the climate that they know will not be the same for their children. Nuclear war, horrors of war, armed conflict, genocide are beyond our full understanding unless we've lived them. Understanding these things in an embodied or visceral way cannot be captured in a soundbite. The only way to impart this wisdom is from a deep place of sharing stories from people who are directly affected, which have been brought to light and listened to with reverence and a desire to know and understand what it was like to live through that hardship. I know when I was a kid, I saw racial discrimination happening around me in the world that I grew up in, living in Detroit, Michigan. But I didn't know what to call it or how to address it. I remember in kindergarten meeting Rosa Parks, who lived in Detroit for the last days of her life, the last many years of her life. I had heard about her before, but meeting this wise older woman who talked about her experience in a very palpable and visceral way transformed me. I started to realize and see what she was talking about in a very different way. I got it, or at least part of it, enough to know that this was something that was not okay and something that I needed to make a lifelong practice to dismantle racism. I'll never forget my first Arts of Ministry class with a professor named David Bumbaugh, who was a lifelong Universalist minister before the consolidation of the Unitarian and Universalist churches in 1961. I remember him telling the story of being at the General Assembly where the Unitarians and the Universalists voted to consolidate, and how he stood there in the aisle crying because he was afraid to lose the faith that had brought him up and helped him answer his calling to ministry. That change was challenging, it was difficult, but he continued to live his Universalist faith in this new association and continued to train generations of other ministers, I being one. His perspective continues to be a powerful reminder to me of how change can be difficult in the moment and how change can grow into something beyond what we can imagine. Change is hard, and there is always more to the story than what gets recorded in the history books. I also think about how others have influenced my joy of music. The time that I spent talking to my youth advisor about folk music and the power that it had to change the world, or the band director in high school who took me under his wing and realized that I was bored with band and orchestral music and dragged me into the jazz band that opened up a whole nother world of truth, wisdom, and beauty. Today, I make these observations not because I feel that I have a lot to teach us about where we are today or where we are going, or about the importance of paying attention to wisdom and imparting knowledge to our present selves and future generations. As a denomination with an overwhelming number of first-generation Unitarian Universalists, we come from our own searching, our own experiences, our own learning, our own ways of making sense of the world around us. As a congregation, we have intentionally included in our covenant that we are a multi-generational congregation. At its best, it means that there's a connection between the generations. Part of the work of older members is to take seriously the work of imparting the wisdom that we hold to future generations. This is an act that is meaningful, and doing so, or is just as meaningful as doing social justice work as far as I'm concerned, because it models for our youth our lived and embodied values that help them become thoughtful, engaged citizens of the world. And we have some amazing youth. Our young people are inheriting the world that is full of anxiety. We have all had anxious moments that we have overcome, difficulties that we have overcome, and being mindful and embodied in our presence for our young people and for each other helps us live through this cycle of history that we are now experiencing. Being present to each other and the beautiful beings that we are, and especially going out of our ways to build connections with our youth and to help tell embodied stories of our own struggles and our own ability to overcome that have felt like impossible obstacles along the way. When we tell those stories to our young people and to each other, we provide inspiration and share the skills that help reduce the anxiety and give us hope that we can too be part of creating a world that is better than the world that we live in now, just by being ourselves and by bringing the gifts that we have to offer to the world. This is how the world can change. This is how we can contribute to that change. Even listening to sirens will help. Even if we take these steps forward, 3 steps forward and 1 step back, we are part of bending the arc of the universe that leads towards human flourishing, positive meaning making, and justice. As our reading pointed out earlier, this is our great call. This is our holy obligation to share the knowledge that we have, to share our values, and offer them in a way that is more than just an intellectual idea, but an embodied learning that transcends the passing of time and brings about lasting change, even when it's a little challenging and uncomfortable. This is the way that we impart enduring love and wisdom in the world. May it be so. Blessed be. I now invite you to rise in body or in spirit to sing our closing hymn 146, Soon That Day Will Arrive. As we extinguish our Unitarian Universalist chalice flame, symbol faith, hope, love, and connection, let us be reminded that although our time of worship has come to an end, our service to each other and the world has just begun. Does Cora want to blow out the candle? Maybe? No? 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 Will you blow it out with me? You don't have to if you don't want to. Want to do it together? 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Thank you. I now invite you to join in singing our benediction. And Atticus, I think you're going to cue that up.
Let us go forth into the weekend, striving to be faithful to our life's journeys, serving the needs of the earth and its inhabitants, sharing in the spirit of love of all we say and do, sharing in the spirit of love of all we say and do, sharing in the spirit of love of all we say and do. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed, blessed be.
Take a moment to wave to everybody who joined us on Zoom. Thanks for coming.